Ghost, Horses and Guns is the title of a piece that's based on personal narrative about Birmingham and where I was brought up. Down the road from where my mum and dad live, there's a real overgrown area. It's kind of neglected a little bit. It's actually a conservation area now. If you go a mile one way, you're in the city, and if you go a mile the other way, you're in the countryside. So it's kind of like this interesting border area between city and countryside. And this particular area has its own character. It's run down. There's lots of rubbish dumped down there. It's very beautiful. It's overflowing with wildlife. There's really interesting bird species, there's newts, you can go down there, you can always see herons. But at the same time, it's an area where there is evidence of crime. Crime has been committed down there. If you walk down there, you always want to keep your wits about you, particularly as a woman. I'm not at all afraid of strangeness and mystery, and I'm not at all afraid of dark things either. I think it's to be confronted. The illustration work is really important to me because it's the start of everything, and I really enjoy the action of painting in gouache paint and the brush touching the surface of the paper and seeing that chalky finish that gouache brings. When I'm creating a painting, I know it's going to be printed onto a metal surface, so I deliberately enhance certain colours within the drawings because I know they'll work well at that saturation when it's printed onto metal. So I've always got the idea that the image will be transferred onto a metallic surface. I also actually print onto wood, and I've printed onto plastic as well, so I could use the same process to print on other materials. I just really love metal. The metal I use is quite difficult to work with. It's a real challenge, but I quite enjoy having to tame this sheet of metal and create something quite delicate from it. I think the work is very complex, it's very layered. I hope people think the work is brave. It's certainly not trendy. I'm sure all artists say they work in a unique way, and I don't mean that in a pretentious sense at all, but I always try to do something that's very different. I wanted to create a set of pieces that are kind of urban folk tales based on past events and real life experiences, things that I remember from childhood. So although they might seem a bit mysterious and strange, they happened, they're true. And I wanted to create an archive of stories that are about ordinary working people. So my roots are very down to earth, my family has working class roots, and I think it's important to create stories about people's lives that live in a similar way. I don't want these things to be forgotten. It's not just my story. In archives, often working class people are not well represented, or if they are, it's usually to do with being in trouble with the law, or there's mugshots, what crimes people have committed. And I wanted to create a body of stories of things I remember that are just about everyday life in a very ordinary area. When I say ordinary, I think it's down-to-earth stories, things that would probably otherwise get missed because a lot of people wouldn't consider it important. Maybe it is important, maybe it isn't, but I think it's great to be able to tell these stories. I have the main bit of memory in each of the stories, but when I went back to visit the places, other things came to mind. So it was really great to go and tread the streets and the places where I remember things, sparked other memories. Maybe it's something to do with the transition from childhood to adulthood, perhaps. Maybe there's some letting go and moving forward, but not wanting to let go of certain things. The work has lots of layers. You can look at it and take away anything that you want from it, but there are some clues. There is a story that I provide to explain what it's about. I want to create beautiful objects as well. I enjoy processes, and the thing about my work that's a huge issue is the time it takes. They're really challenging to make. They take ages. Some of them can take months to make, and it's a very slow process. I really like the challenge that overcomplicating something brings. It can also be a bit of a nightmare as well at times, but that's how I naturally work. Details are really important to me, and I like the challenge of creating something that initially seems impossible. I know not everybody likes to work in that way, but for me it is a real thrill to be able to have an idea in my head and to be able to make it in a three-dimensional format.